So hi there, and thank you for making it to number 80 of the Bitcoin Core app design calls. Yashraj is in hiding, protecting his privacy. All good. Um, so thanks for joining. Michael cannot make it. I don't know about Harold. I asked him earlier. Maybe he'll still join. He did have some questions around the Pierce details page, and that seems like it's something that maybe we should touch on. Because Johnny, maybe you have some insight. There seem to be like two pull requests right now, competing pull requests for implementing the peer details. I don't know if they build on top of each other or what's going on there. Um,
Yeah, no, they just built straight on top of each other.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. It seems like there's really some polish coming in, like tapping to copy and the tooltips and the colors and all this stuff. It's like that page is getting a lot of love right now, developer love. But we also need to make sure we give it design love, and that means testing it. I tried to test earlier, but the artifacts weren't built yet. Um, so let me see if they're built now. Um, Let's go to actions, add peer details page alternative. Yes,
Why is this
seems to
one called
be.
like the alternative? What is it, like a different design, or what's the alternative part?
So I actually don't know. Like if Johnny says they build on top of each other, but Harold calls it alternative, then I'm not really sure. Maybe they kind of have some of the. So the one that Harold proposed is, I think it just kind of changed some of the UI elements around, like making height of different rows dynamic instead of fixed, and there are like hover hints in there. So maybe, I mean, maybe Johnny can explain it, but my guess is that like the application logic is generally the same, but maybe just on the UI layer, there are some
Yeah, no,
differences.
it's just alternative is a weird phrase. I agree. It's just a straight improvement on top of what I had already been working on.
Mhm.
I basically passed it off to him because he was interested in finishing it
Mhm.
while I work on the navigation flow. So the old PR will probably get closed, I think. Yeah.
Is he trying to hog your commits?
No, 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 no. He's got. If you look, there's three commits. My commit's the first one, so he's just building
Okay.
on top.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
cool.
just a straight improvement of what we already had. Um,
So the PR388, that is the most recent one, and that's the one that we can ideally test.
yeah, that includes more features than the base implementation.
Okay, just answering Yashraj. I see the recording light, and my option is now to only to stop recording, so I assume we are recording. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So that seems like a good one to test specifically. Is the ban option is not in there, and the pagination option is also not seem to be in there from the last screenshot. But yeah, I mean that's small
Yeah, I
stuff
think
that could also
it's
be added on later as a different pull request or so. So I don't know. Let's test it. And I guess one good thing to test is wait until be on the Pierce details page and wait until a peer disconnects and see what that was something that was discussed, right? That it doesn't navigate you away, but instead there's a refresh on the page that says this peer disconnected 5 seconds ago.
Yeah, let me see. I'm not sure if he implemented that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think that's implemented yet.
Yeah.
But that's probably worth discussing to make sure that makes sense. I think it does. It's pretty jarring when you get disconnected.
Yeah, you don't really know what's going on. It just seems like a glitch.
Yeah, it just kicks you back. So
Yeah, I mean,
actually
I
that's
don't know how you
worthwhile.
work. Like I said earlier, I feel like if this page is stable and works well, then some of these details could also be follow-ups.
Yeah, I agree, and we need to figure that out. I don't know. I guess maybe we just got to get Habasto. We just got to drag him over. Yeah, I know he's really busy with actually changes that are very relevant to us.
Mhm.
So he's been pretty occupied. But yeah, we're getting to the point where we need him to start merging in what we have so we can. It
Mhm.
just kind of solidifies things, so we're not kind of in limbo with
Yeah.
our changes.
Is
It helps us move forward.
Does he also review, or does he only merge when there are enough
He,
reviews available?
yeah, mainly mainly he just merges it, but he'll look over to make sure that
Mhm.
our views are sane. That
Mhm.
it's nothing crazy's going on. So
Yeah.
he's got a good intuition for that. He's been doing it forever.
Awesome. Yeah, and Harold had some questions that was around these little green little dots, for which I added in the design docs. There is now this green to red gradient color definition that you can see behind me for both light and dark modes. So that could also be used later on. And he had a question about the size of these icons, which is kind of a bit of a technical thing. But I really feel like the stuff that we've put on there will probably change a little bit as people actually start using it, and they might get a sense for if they find it helpful or if they have questions, or like once you actually start using it, you really get a sense for it. And I am not the best peer details page user because some of these things are not meaningful to me. So we'll have to gather feedback there.
It feels like there's a lot of information here, but I'm in the same boat as Christoph. I don't use the screen, so I'm not the person to give any input as to whether it is indeed too much of information.
Yeah.
Who would be using this peer information screen the most?
I mean, it's pretty general purpose.
I guess the question is, why would people be using them? That's more.
There we go. Why? Yes.
Some people might be picky about the type of peer they're connected to. I think it's primarily for like sanity checking to see that you're connected and communicating well to your peers. That, at least to me, is the main use. So just quickly glancing and seeing that you're connected to kind of normal Bitcoin nodes, I guess.
So it's more of a gut check type of thing. Like generally, does everything look kind of good? And then developers or hobbyists or so with very specific preferences might have some particular details there that they're looking for.
Yeah, and there's a new feature with an update to the communication protocol between peers. It's now encrypted, so that's something we'll add. But that's another field for which version the communication is on. So that's likely something people would use. With more recent versions of Bitcoin Core. Basically, just says you're on version 2 instead of version 1, which people are interested in seeing. Kind of like whenever a new feature goes out in Bitcoin, people are trying to see how much use it's getting.
I just have one question. In the information over there, that address over there, is that the IP address of your peer? Okay, that's just intuitively that feels a little bit cliche to me because I know Bitcoiners are very protective of their information. So if you have someone's IP address, I think is that okay?
There's techniques, there's tools built in. You can use proxies, you can use Tor.
Okay.
What's the other one? I2C.
And one more.
There's
CJDNS or something.
Okay. Yeah. So there's techniques and tools for masking your IP address.
Yeah, and that is actually a page that we also have to revisit at some point. It is the proxy page, for which I don't think we have highly
Oh, I remember that one.
detailed. This one here, that's where we define these things. And there was a little bit of iffiness. There's some details around the interaction model, but that's nothing super important right now. Yeah. Okay, cool. That's awesome. But we can help test, click around, see if we break something. Mo, like if you click around and like, Harold put in some tooltips and little things, maybe if you click around a bit, it will all make sense to you because Harold put in such awesome tooltips, right? So
Tomorrow is my testing day. Today was
Yeah.
sort of the feedback day, and tomorrow is the testing day. Also one for Daniel as well. I'll
Cool.
write that down. Okay.
Yeah, awesome. I'm excited to see that make it in. And then Michael had some explorations for mini-script capabilities based on the how it works page. That's interesting. Let's take a look at that one. Veto keys. We designate one or more keys to be always required to sign transactions. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, so Michael, as you know, Michael is looking into these more complex use cases for inheritance, with different recovery paths, with mini-script and all of that. So I think just as part of what his other research and work, he's trying to see how this could potentially fit. So I think that's very forward-looking type of stuff. But great to see explorations there. assumeUTXO prototype / design. Yeah, Yashraj, did you say you worked on it a bit more?
So I looked at your feedback. I think I have to say I really appreciate that almost every week you go in and take a look at what changes I've done and like answer comments and drop your own comments. That's something that's that's really helpful to me. Um, I I also read the GitHub comment, and I think I agree with some of it, maybe disagree a bit with some of it, but I think I need to create more prototypes. Like basically, the approach I want to take is like if you propose something, I'll just implement it. I'll create it pro, in a prototype, and then we can do a comparison at some point and just like decide on something, I guess. And so I've been thinking about like uh, when you said that during onboarding, every step is just one screen, and assume UTXO is like two or three screens, and that's why you suggested that hey, that's why you don't think that it should be a part of the onboarding, right? And that's something that does make sense for me. But I also think that given the huge UX benefit, if we can fit it in somehow and also give the user the optionality to skip it if they want, that might be useful as well. So I was thinking that maybe we can skip the part where the hash verification is done. And when I say that skip it, I mean don't skip it. Actually, just like don't show anything to the user regarding that. Maybe we can include that information afterwards. So during the onboarding, that is one screen that is like reduced, and then we can see if it works a bit better for you and for other users. So thinking about that, but I didn't get a chance to do it. But that's what I was thinking about, like how can make it shorter.
Yeah, it's almost like just pick a file and move on, and the rest you'll be kept in the loop and whatever happens.
Yes.
And awesome. Thanks for continuing to dig into that. And yeah, the other thing we talked about is whether you ever have the option to both create and import at the same time. It just seems like you either have one. Like until your IBD is done, you can import one, and after it's done, you can create one. Like there's no point to import after you can make your own and you're already done, right? So that was a simplification one. And I think for me, the other reason why not to make it a big deal in the onboarding is because it's not that broadly adopted of a feature.
Yeah. I think on that one, I think I totally agree with you, man. I mean, the issue right now facing is that I was in this exploration phase where I was just trying to learn as much as I could, create a prototype for like the broadest possible thing, but but like very much related to what you just said. I feel like the feature is like it's not fully implemented, and whatever is implemented, like even that is like not for mainnet, for it's for some other stuff. It's like hard to find the snapshots. So I think at some point I have to like narrow it down for what we have right now, because honestly I don't have a timeline on when the full power of the feature is going to be available. Is it going to be in the next release, or the release after that, or the release after that? And then like I think that like uh, hamstrings what the use can be or should be.
Also putting in a sub option there makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and if you while you're trimming and refining designs, if you're not removing something that you really like, then you're not cutting enough. You're not refining enough. That's the
Yes.
measure. Like I really like this design piece, but it's not strictly necessary. It's painful to remove it, but it needs to go. And
Yes.
Yes, Raj.
I see that.
How does this sound to you, right? What if we have just one more co-working session and then we say at that point we wrap it up? We just get it out there and we're gonna just get it in front of people because we're not, let's just get it out there before it's not perfect, because we can assume already that it's not perfect when we put it in front of people, because those people are going to give us feedback anyway. And then we're going to make changes based on that feedback.
This is actually an interesting one because G has already half implemented this. So we might actually, like some other stuff like create wallet where with multi-sig where I look working way in the future, but we should check like if G is just waiting for designs here to implement, or if he's kind of hands off for now, or kind of what happens
Give you
next.
an update on what he's doing. I talk with him every Monday. We have a little sync just for dev stuff. What he's doing now is focused on the file dialog. I think he's got it figured out, so he should be done with that soon. And then once that's done, he can go back and finish his assumeUTXO flow. The dialog is obviously used for choosing the UTXO set that you want to use. So that's what he's doing right now. That's why he's kind of like off it for the last 2 or 3 weeks. He's finishing that. I think he's got it. So yeah, I'm hoping he'll have an update with the file dialog where it's ready to go this week, and then he should be back on that soon.
Okay, awesome. So that means we need to kind of get our stuff together here very quickly, so he can get moving there and it's not blocked.
We should. So does that mean that he'd be ready to start developing the assumeUTXO design user flow, which Yashar is working on right now?
Well, I mean, he'll be able to finish what he has because he does have a prototype already. I don't know how close that is to the design or how much they've diverged. So that's.
Yeah, it's there's that particular screen in the onboarding, and then there's this whole experience afterwards potentially, which is not so easy right now because we don't have the global navigation later on in the wallet and all of this stuff, like having a reminder in the block log that tells you it's generating a snapshot right now. So I think maybe we can just try to see what like have the minimum viable version of this, like the things that he has to touch right now to get his pull request done and a basic version of this feature, just to help get that in good shape, and then have a phase 2 or a version 2 or so that adds all these other bits in.
There is already, if I understand correctly, there is already a developed version of assumeUTXO, but in its infancy.
Yes.
Oh.
We already have something like that. Yeah. I don't know if there is like a PR or if there is like something an issue for it, but uh, I know that in G's repository, in his own repo, he definitely does have something, and I have used that, and it works inside of the Bitcoin Core app. So it's not like something command line or something like that. It works in the UI of the Bitcoin Core app, and it allows you to specify like file path, and if your file is there where the file path says it is, it will import it, and that I think works for both Signet and Mainnet. Uh, so yeah, we definitely have that. Um, I also wanted to like quickly mention something when it came to like if G is going to start working on it, I think it might be a good idea to like to scope it out, because I feel like loading the screenshot, loading this snapshot and also generating one, I think we like have to marry them, because it's like hard to test it otherwise, potentially. I don't know, so maybe that's something to consider, and I think it might be a good idea to like talk to G, talk to like Johnny, whoever, and like come up with like these are the first steps to do this, because it's a bit of a complicated one.
Okay, we can just. How about we just start a thread in Discord and just start talking there and start asking questions. First one, maybe what he knows that he needs, like what would be the most helpful for him from his perspective, and
Yeah.
yeah, then let him know that we're going to try to very quickly refine a version that we can then have design specs and a prototype for.
I'd like to get that version in front of some people before we bring it to design, before we bring it to development. But it seems like things are very.
Mhm. Um, yeah, Mo, like I agree with that, but I think there is one step even before that to decide what it is that we want to bring it in front of people first, and then get the feedback, iterate, and then hand it over to G. What is that thing?
Yeah. Hello, everyone.
Hi there.
Hey.
Hey,
We're joining the Bitcoin Grove. I've got Michael here. This is Ross. We're doing our Miami Bitcoin Design Club, so we just want to listen in on what's going on with you guys. So just kind of lurking.
Amazing.
Awesome. Hey, guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining. To catch you up, we're discussing the assumeUTXO feature right now. Are you familiar with assumeUTXO?
Not quite. So
okay. So you know how the initial block download takes like on a phone 9 days, on a Umbrel 10 hours or something like that. So this is a feature that basically allows you just kind of import a what do you call it? A file that has all the UTXOs in it. So while you're actually still syncing the chain in the background, this file already gets you up to speed very quickly. So instead of like 10 hours, you might be going in like 2 hours or so with this file. And then after you're done with your initial block download, you can also export it and use it to bootstrap other nodes. It's like a bootstrapping mechanism. And so in the project, there is G, who started implementing this. He has a branch that he's working on this. There's a good prototype version. And then we've been doing design explorations on the side. And G took a little bit of a break from this. Now he's going to get back to it next week or so. And we need to get our designs ready. So we're just talking about how we can best get the designs ready for this first implementation of this feature. It will probably have to change in the future, but so it's more like a nice MVP version of this. So most likely that means we need to put together some design specs and maybe a Figma or web prototype for it. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And Yeah, what were we just talking? What
I was
specifically were we saying?
what you're talking about because it feels like there's already a semi-ready version of the assumeUTXOs, which is being partially implemented by G, and then there's this sort of more advanced version which is done by Yashraj. It almost feels like we could test out the version that G has created, because that's something that someone could already click on if it's a live version.
Yeah, so the trick here is now that you have to get this install this artifact from GitHub. Then you have to download this, you have to run it on what is it, Signet. Then you have to download this huge file, and then you have to import that during the application. So it's not a super smooth thing. I think a Figma prototype is actually easier because there are no complex animations in there. You can just mock this up very quickly. So I think Yashar's prototypes are pretty good. And so I also don't think there's a huge amount of stuff to do if we're just talking about just the onboarding piece.
There's nothing to do with onboarding.
Like for the first one, the first implementation, and I don't know if G already implemented the generation of a snapshot. If he hasn't, and it's just about importing, then it's actually pretty straightforward. Then we basically have this screen here, this initial download, initial settings, where you basically pick a file, and then you have a progress bar for a while. And that's kind of it,
So there's basically, right now, there's 3 screens in the entire UTXO user flow. And those are just kind of informational screens.
Yeah, so this screen already exists. He added an extra button in there, but based on what we talked about, this button would be in connection settings. So you would go into connection settings, and then you'd probably just have a subpage there with this information here that tells you, this is kind of a bootstrapping mechanism. You need to get this file from somewhere, and then click here to upload it. And we're going to verify it and use it initially, and we'll keep you in the loop with an awesome progress bar that will be in a convenient location. Don't worry, we've got you covered. Something like that. So yeah, I don't.
There's not much value in testing that. No.
The terminology is kind of important. Like the feature is called assumeUTXO. We call it snapshot. Is Bootstrap? Is it quick start? Like, how do you frame this thing? But we can make a good first guess because text is easy to change later.
Yeah.
If we get the interaction model right, then text changes are somewhat easy later on.
Yeah, and I wouldn't because you could do a test where you just focus only on the copy and you just show the person the copy and you just get some feedback around the copy on the screen, but then doing a separate test for that and then a separate test for Yashraj's user flow seems like doubling the work unnecessarily. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yashraj, how are you feeling about iterating the designs?
What if we set a deadline, our own personal deadline of we do one more design session this week, and next week we start getting in front of people?
Yeah, Yashraj, I also know that you're kind of on vacation right now with family. So,
oh my goodness.
So it's fine. Like if you're, we can try to figure it out together or split up the work or whatever. Just let us know.
We don't want, no, I'm really sorry. I forgot that Yashraj was on holiday. And Yashraj, what feels best for you in this scenario?
I feel like we have a bunch of Figma prototypes ready. So why don't you guys review it and criticize it, and I can improve it, or anyone can improve. I don't know how should I provide you guys access, edit access, because it's in my drafts.
We can just copy paste it to another file.
Okay, yeah.
It's no problem.
You could do something like that, and then at any point you could show it to people. And I think the Figma prototypes is something that you can immediately share with people, and they can take a look and they can criticize it. But I think before that, we have to do a bit of an internal review and and make sure that there are no like big issues, like something obviously wrong that the user can tell, oh, this is something that they forgot about, something like that. Just like fix those and then get users to test those, I guess. I mean, and yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if
that
you
that
were, go ahead.
sorry. So I was just saying that like it doesn't require me to do too much other than what I've already done, and the user testing can like happen on your end, and I can just help out to whatever extent is required, and I'm able to. So let's figure that out.
Yeah. A quick test could, you know how Jakob sometimes in the design review channel, he just posts like 2 different designs and he says, hey, which one do you like better? And it doesn't mean that he has to follow that, but it can be a quick gut check, especially if it's, let's say we have this screen that introduces this feature, they stumble on it for the first time. And you can put a version and then say which one is more clear to you. What do you expect to happen? What do you think this feature does from each one of those descriptions? You have to set the context, telling them like you're now for the first time installing this, using this, and at screen 7 you get to this. What do you think this does? Something like that. So it could be just a quick test in Discord.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. I think that might also give us the ability to test different names for this thing. Call it assumeUTXO, call it bootstrapping file, call it something else, and see if people like it or people understand it or they don't. I don't know.
And
It
Christoph
will be
is
definitely interesting.
Christoph is gently nudging you to work in public, Yashraj, to put your work out there, get some public feedback. Go for it.
I mean, yeah. So, I mean, my working style is that I hide out inside of a cave on a remote island, and so that's a bit hack. But yeah, I get it. Yeah, I think I love it, and I think I also like that it is like really small. That I'm not even asking feedback on the entire flow. It could be feedback on just one screen.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about this screen? That's interesting for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so and if anyone wants to see the current prototypes, they're linked here in the design assumeUTXO user flow issue thingy, all the way at the very bottom. There's a link. Yeah.
So how does this feel as an idea then? Is if we do a work in public post asking for some feedback about the 2 current prototypes, and then from there finalize those. And then would you want Christoph or myself to move that towards a clickable prototype, Yashraj? Because we do not want to give you work while you're on holiday.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have access to that. If you guys can like really put something out based on what we have, that will be nice. That like will save me the effort of trying to talk to people. So, but yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, you enjoy your holiday. In fact, I'm curious why you on this call. I mean, I love having you here, but you are on holiday.
Yeah, I mean,
probably because I bugged him. Sorry for bugging you.
No. In all seriousness, I'm here because Bitcoin is at 60K. When Bitcoin is at 100K, I'll be on the call for 24 hours a day.
You will what? Be sitting on an island? What do you say?
No, I'll be call all the time. So the higher Bitcoin goes, the more enthusiasm I have.
Love it.
That's the reason. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay, cool. Well, I'll also try to spend a little bit of time on this. And then as soon as we have something, I'll prep the design docs and the main Figma file for it, so it's all well documented for implementation.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yes.
People will be very happy to test it out. We can just post something in the community and people will be very happy to help. And I have some connections still with people who've tested in the past, so I could just reach out to them.
Yeah. The feature framing is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We have 20 minutes left. Do you want to continue down this route? It has a certain urgency to it all of a sudden, or do you want to talk about something else?
Yeah.
If I can, if I can get my screen sharing working, I can try to give you a preview of the navigation. What I
Yes,
have currently.
please.
Oh, nice.
Let's see if this will work. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes. Awesome.
Okay. So this is going to be kind of bare bones. It's basically the skeleton of the wallet navigation. And the main thing with the first iteration is like just kind of restructuring the relationship between all of the views. So you can see there's some little things like I need to get this centered, the block clock, the settings. I'm not sure what to do with this. I probably have to remove the done button from here, but yeah. So this is the desktop one at the moment. Basic tabs with the views down here, which yeah, the desktop's pretty close to being done. I think the other thing I need to do is the highlights for hovering. Center this and get rid of this extra button here because I don't know that this is necessary.
Yeah, totally. It's the same that I had considered in the web prototype, that these pages, they're in the different navigation wrappers on desktop versus mobile, and they kind of need to know. I mean, either you separate the page content, you have a separate sub-page content component or whatever, and then you wrap it in different navigation components.
Well, we've kind of abstracted it, so we can modify the bar at the top here.
Yeah.
So I'll likely just remove it for desktop wallet mode.
Yeah, it feels kind of brutally big, that done button too. Yeah, I do feel like once we actually use it, we're going to notice a bunch of things where we're like, this needs to be tweaked or polished. A
little bit, right? Because like even the alignment here kind of feels a little weird, but that's okay. The nice thing is just like there's the back button here, but then it's in this frame. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is this is basically just 100% reused from the Node runner, so that makes this a lot easier.
Yeah, and we have just as much. I mean, some of the stuff with the spacing and the sizing is simply because we try to keep the desktop to mobile design basically the same as much as possible, and it was always. I mean, it was we knew that maybe at some point it's not going to work perfectly, and we may end up having to make some subtle changes, but it just allows us to get really far by having this consistency.
And you can kind of see here the minimum for the bar, which I think is acceptable. Actually, it's sort of hard coded. I removed the constraints, but this is the real limits. It's somewhere around here for the desktop application. But this is to give you an idea if we compress that limit a little bit. But yeah. That's the current desktop. I could switch to mobile.
That's awesome. So cool to see.
Johnny, I think first of all, I think it looks pretty good. I think it looks good. That's great. The question I think that you had asked, I think couple weeks back, and I think Christoph and Mo were both not there on that call, and that was about the top bar. Because when you're on the block log, you don't want to see the activity send and receive. That's what I assume. But then when you're in the wallet environment, that is when you want to see. So basically, the tab bar seems to be different, whether if you're on the block log or in the wallet environment. So like, did you?
Yeah, I think I was confused there. I think this is clear. Like I think this is how it's intended, and I like it. I think it looks good. So you still have when you have the block clock up, you can still just quickly switch to your
wallet
feature. Yeah.
And one idea that has been floating around is a bit have almost like a full screen button in the corner, where you
or something.
like you when you hover it, it appears, and you can just go full screen, and maybe the full screen mode also shows you those widgets or something like that, right? We can add. I think that would be kind of a very simple solution for those people who just really want to have the block lock
Yeah,
huge, and
I'm
maybe.
excited to just like get this in because there's a lot of things. Once this basic, the relationship between all the views is in,
Mhm.
everything can be done in parallel, right? Like
Yeah.
you can work on activity without affecting the block clock view,
Yeah.
and
And I think an important thing is there that the architecture is correct. So if we when we do want to do these smaller things, it doesn't require big changes to the technical architecture anymore.
yeah, I'm excited to get it reviewed because it was simpler than I thought, and I'm hoping Errol and G are like what it looks like. I think it's pretty easy to manage too. I'll switch to the mobile.
So cool. One question. So you know how we ask on the core app design docs, we ask people to test. So the application will, because right now we kind of have a build that works as is, right? It just has the block lock. You can use it for that, and it's kind of a self-contained, complete application. Once this navigation is in, you're going to have these pages that just says send or receive, and you have all this missing stuff. We're still going to have the previous build, right? The version 1 build basically, and then the kind of the version 2 dev build in a way, and then we're going to have these sub builds for different PRs.
Yeah, so actually the difference is whether or not you have wallets compiled in, right? So, but that is a good point. So we might need to have a wallet and non-wallet build, so you can get the node runner only experience still. My hope is that this pull request, because I still include the block clock and the settings, that the previous features are all there, and gives us a starting point for implementing the rest of the features. But yeah, we'll have to figure out if we can add another artifact target where we build without wallet functionality, which would give you the what you're thinking of, which is 1.0 version.
I guess we have no idea if people actually use this first version or not, right?
Well, regardless, I think regardless, I think it's like, it's intended to have 2 operating modes. I think it's good to have.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's great. Super cool. Looks awesome.
There's one more thing that comes up in the initial guerrilla testing that we did online in the community. I think you were there as well, Johnny, that the prototyping testing won't allow us to reveal in this onboarding flow, is the issue that people had with having a previous version of Core installed and then the current installation process not working or having an error. So I'm just curious I don't know if we figured that one out yet, or what was needed to be done on that. That was just basically the installation process where people who had previous versions of Core installed, that was both Jakob as well as Yashraj on the call. There was some bug, there was some error that they could not complete the installation process. I think it crashed.
Yeah, we have some fixes for that, and that's basically Jakob forgot that he had Bitcoin Core installed previously. So the onboarding was set up, and it was trying to overwrite his previous settings. So that's still a question. Like, how do you want to present this to a user that's already had Bitcoin Core run? Do you want to show onboarding or not? So that's still an open question.
Yeah, that's so Right, so that the experience doesn't start when someone opens the app. There will be the experience starts on the website or wherever you download it, and there we could have a migration page that says
Mm-hmm.
you're used to the old Bitcoin QT. Well, you're still welcome to use it, right? But if you're switching over, these are kind of the noticeable changes or so. Make sure you do or do not do this or that. You know, I don't know. Maybe people like Bitcoin QT is like this super long established thing. There might be a lot of concerns some people might have, and if we can give a bit of a guide, that maybe they only refer to it once it actually does break, and it might have some tips that could be a helpful thing.
Yeah. I think that's a good one to. It just came up because I know we're going to test the prototypes, but it's that actual when you actually have the actual version on your computer and it crashes, it would be, that's quite a big thing that we would have to let people know, inform them what's happening at the right time during that user journey.
You know, I crashed the app like 5 times today. Just I was trying to set up the REST server, and I just did
Yeah,
stuff wrong. It's kind of easy to crash if you just type in really broken
it's just
instructions. So
okay.
I think we can kind of test crashing, and maybe ensuring that like there's something useful that's being shown to people.
Exactly. Yes. Please.
Um,
Yes. When it crashes, let's show them something useful. Yeah. Perfect. Communicate. Yes. I can help with that in any way because I'm very keen on error message and crash messages.
Yeah, so there is a PR currently up that has kind of started that process, but I don't know if it's an immediate priority, but it's certainly important. It's certainly important, and we
It
need
is.
to.
And I guess
One,
it's a big one as well, because if you imagine you're driving your car on the road and your car stops working, and it's like, okay, like what do? You'd normally call up your roadside assistance. But here there is no roadside assistance. There's also no, dedicated Bitcoin Core customer service team. So this person is just sitting there on the side of the road like, hey, what's up? My car's not working. So I'm really trying to, I think it is important that we provide that direction when that car stops working on the side of the road.
yeah, and that's going to be the biggest challenge with that is going to be communicating to the user what happened and what that means for them.
Yeah.
So that will be interesting. Even that, like, so the error you were referencing before was that he had already had um, a node initialized and it had different prune settings than what he set up in his onboarding. And so, yeah, that what do you tell the user, and what should the flow be with that? It's really interesting. The previous the QT app, for instance, asks the user if you want to just wipe out what you already had, and that's actually an option. So there's a lot of things like that with these error flows. It gets really interesting.
that sounds like, do you want to wipe out everything you have in your Bitcoin wallet? Yes.
Well, no, it's
I'm kidding.
not
I'm just
bad.
kidding.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it very bluntly as well. Could you imagine someone is downloading Bitcoin Core app, it crashes, they receive no error messages. How much of faith do you think they're going to have in putting their Bitcoin on that application? They won't even go to the wallet onboarding flow. It's done. They're gone. Bye. So we should crack that nut.
Yeah, we'll absolutely have to. There's no
Yeah.
doubt about that. We need to make sure it's rock solid before we get serious with considering merging and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but we have a few minutes still. That's super awesome progress, Johnny. Thanks for sharing that. It's getting real, getting antsy. But it has been real, but it's getting more real.
Yeah, I think getting some wallet functionality is going to be really exciting.
Do you need anything for that on the design side right now, or and it's not ready for review, right? You're still working on things.
Uh, yeah, I hope to get it in review before the weekend. So I was hoping I would have it already, but maybe another day or two, and
Okay.
I'm going to start getting it reviewed.
You're moving fast. Harold's getting the peer details page. G's working on assumeUTXO. It seems like us designers, we really have to like be on it
Mm-hmm.
now and just make sure we have all our goods ready and help
Mm-hmm.
test. Someone's ready, yeah. Yeah.
So yes, please enjoy your holiday and leave the assume UTXOs wrapping up to Christoph and myself.
We don't want to command you. You just let us know. You
Please
just
enjoy
make
your
a
holiday.
call, leave us a message, or whatever you'd like to do. Okay.
Cool. Okay, yeah, so he's not talking. He's even more into privacy now. Sorry, Yashaj, I'm just making jokes.
Yeah, and Mo and I are saying very different things, so you know you can do whatever you'd like. So just do your thing. Be Yashraj.
Yes.
And I will, like I've done in the last week or two, like something comes up, I'll try to wrap up the details, wrap up the design docs, clean Figma, answer. I talked to Harold about some of the things in wallet creation, how the wallet.dat manages descriptors and stuff. I sent that to Jakob and Michael, who are working on that. I think their questions should be answered now too. Yeah, so I think things are moving pretty well. And that's it. Should we wrap it up? Any other thoughts, questions, ideas?
I do have one question, and I definitely won't get to this for a bit, but the mini block clock. So I know is the idea just to show sort of the progress. So there's progress, and then there is the current time, right?
The mini one that's in
mini block clock. Top
hold
corner
on.
for the navigation.
Let me pull up the Figma. Let's see if I can find this real quick. Yeah, so here's some design details for it. So the idea, the original idea, most intense idea, was actually that it is an accurate representation of the status of the block clock. So it does show whether it's connecting, whether it's loading, whether the current actual block clock status. I mean, in the center, you would the text information would be abstracted, and the loop would just be a little dot. But also, if there's a system error or if it's paused or so, that you would see that you would.
Okay. No, actually, that's great. I don't think that's too crazy either. The one thing I didn't understand was there's a state where the text is yellow versus is that just hovered or is that what that is?
Where was it?
So your
This one here?
text was yellow. No, it was back on your row of states. So you're in the right spot with the row of states.
But you mean this one here? Oh, okay, this in the center.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me see. That one is called up to date 60%.
Is that like when it's some indication that it's synced? Is that what the intention is? I don't know.
I don't
I feel like
think
there's something there.
I don't think anybody would understand that. I think
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, yeah, I don't think that would be clear at all. So it's
Okay.
probably just a mistake. Yeah.
Okay, actually, that little set of icons, I think, will help a lot.
Okay, and then the idea was also that there's a tooltip, but you can hover it, and then it will show you
Progress, yeah.
something, whatever's helpful at the moment.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Now, here's a question for IBD, block down mode. Do you want it, and does it make more sense for it to be in the spinning state? Or because with the mini block clock, you don't really have the text to tell you that what you're seeing is a percentage of the IBD versus the current time.
So here, so this one was connecting, right? Where it doesn't have any peers, it's just trying to connect, right? Then this one, the solid yellow, that was the downloading. I think that was IBD, so it's just a yellow bar. And then once you're actually syncing blocks, that's when you have this gradation where the latest blocks, still sizzling hot straight from the chain.
That's right. Yeah, so that mirrors the actual block clock almost directly.
Yeah, I mean, this detail, like, no one will get it without explanation or being familiar with it. Right. If this is all they see, right, it's going to be, that's why you need the tooltip. That's why you need to click on it and then get the proper thing.
I think that could be right. Just having the tooltip will solve any of those questions.
Yeah, and then a pro who's used to it, they might be able to quickly glance it and might appreciate it, or just find it weird. I don't know. It's just, it's very detailed, right? It's sometimes hard to tell. But
yeah, hey guys, one question I have on this one is, and I think Johnny touched on it, is like, how does this thing look when the IBD is done? When I'm on the wallet, I'm doing something else, and the IBD is done. How does that look like?
Well, these two here, that is that's how the block log itself looks. Like it's a tiny version of this here.
Oh, okay. And so then, when the IBD is like half done, what does the block log look like? Because the connecting state is one, and then
yeah, so we have all that
in the block log rather. Yeah, I'm meant to say the mini block log, not like the regular block log.
Yeah, but so the regular one also just has this yellow bar that fills up during IBD, and the same thing is for the center one here. That's for the IBD. So it's the same. It's basically the same, just smaller and abstracted.
Okay, and so then that's what you guys were saying. Like, it's only when they hover on it do we show that this is like, yeah, what's happening exactly. Is it done? Is the IBD done? And if it's not done, then we show how much is done. And if the IBD is done and we are in the regular phase, then we show the block height at which we are, I guess.
Yeah, but it's like so small. Like, this is 18 pixels. I mean, It's,
yeah.
It has to be very. Yeah, it has to be supplemented with additional information.
Yeah, I like it. I'm satisfied. This is very doable too, so we should be able to add that as an improvement afterwards.
Awesome. Something I was not sure is that the height of some of these bars is actually 1.5 pixels, which